If I am a person that likes to be funny and to use humor and levity to engage with people, then is it an authentic or inauthentic response to smile at the news of something tragic? Am I deluding others or myself when I smile or laugh through the pain of a terrible time? Am I avoiding actually bathing in the grief I need to feel so that when time passes, I will have missed my chance to mourn? Danny used to tell me that everyone thought I was such a nice person and such a good person, but he was the only one that knew the truth about what a bad person I was. He was convinced I had deluded everyone but him.
You asked, how are we doing really? And I was shaking from head to toe, and I thought, okay, let's just do this. Let's just dive in. I didn't have a plan to do it, but it just felt unavoidable. The words kind of just flew out of me, but then when I was done, I sat there and I couldn't look anyone in the eye, and I was sweaty, and I just thought, okay, now I've done it. Now it's out there. Now what?
There was a shooting at your home, or your ex-husband's home, at 2116 Trescott. Okay. Your ex-husband, Daniel, all right, has been taken to the hospital. He's not going to survive.
Oh my God.
Okay. Can you let me get over this hump, okay? Can we do that first? All right. Can you tell me what time you left your house this morning?
Yeah, I was there. I didn't leave this morning. I didn't leave until noon.
Okay.
Oh my God. And I tried to drive up Trescott, and I saw that it was blocked.
It was blocked at some point. I'm not sure what time it was blocked.
And I just thought, oh, there's maybe some trees down or something. Cause sometimes.
Oh, you're saying as you drove down which one of the side roads?
When I'm going to a friend's party tonight, and oh my God, what am I even talking about? I needed to buy, it's a stock the shelf engagement party, and so I went to buy bourbon.
Okay.
So I went to drive from my place up Trescott to get to ABC Liquor, and it was blocked, so I just turned around. I was on the phone at the time. I wasn't paying a lot of attention.
Right.
So I just turned around and drove up the other way. I just thought, oh, sometimes when I lived there were electrical things that would happen. I left my house around 12:15 because I thought I'll get the bourbon and then I'll get some gas for the car and I need super glue for one of the boys' toys, and I was trying to do all I can before meeting my two friends at 1.
Okay, who was at your house this morning?
The only person that was at my house this morning was a guy from Best Buy, because my TV was broken and it's under warranty.
Easy for you.
Yeah, I figured.
Okay, a guy from Best Buy was at your house to work on your TV?
I have his name and everything at the house if you want it, because the boys broke the TV, so he gave me a choice of fixing it or getting a new one.
What time did he come to the house?
He called me at around 8. He was probably there until around 10.
Okay.
Okay.
And then you
and then after he left, I kept working on a paper, and I emailed the paper to a librarian at school to work on some of the citations.
Okay.
And I don't think I talked to anyone else, but I was just working for an hour or so from the house. I was gonna take a shower, but I didn't. I ran out of time. I did laundry, and then I left the house around noon.
To go to the liquor store and the stuff for the party?
Yeah.
Okay, you went down which road you said?
I went down Trescott.
Okay.
I saw a police car there. and I just thought it was blocked, so I just turned around and drove to, I went down the rest of Centerville, went up Benton, took Benton across, went to ABC Liquors, bought the bourbon.
I'm a little confused. You're up on Centerville Road. What's your purpose of driving down Trescott?
It's usually the shortcut to get to
Oh.
Monroe.
To get to Monroe?
I usually take it as a cut through to get to Thomasville or Monroe.
Okay, all right, so
I
you,
don't know why I said Monroe. I was thinking Mosaic, Monroe, Thomasville.
okay, so when you come down into town on Centerville,
I almost always cut through Trescott.
Trescott, and just drive by your old house?
Well, I do it as a way of like coming to terms with the divorce. But yeah, sometimes I drive there. If I'm too sad, I drive around.
Okay,
If the kids aren't home and I know they're not home, I feel better about driving by the house. But yeah, it's shorter and I just usually drive by.
it's shorter than going all the way down to Benton.
All the way down Centerville and around Benton. It's just
Right.
a shortcut I always took.
Okay, so you turned around and went back to Centerville, I take it,
Yeah.
down to Benton, and went to the liquor store down there on Thomasville?
Yeah.
The one at Benton Road?
ABC Liquors, it's at, Benton. Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right, did you make a purchase there?
Yeah,
And that was sometime after 12?
probably 12:30.
Okay, all right.
And I talked to a guy there because I don't really buy much alcohol, and so they wanted bourbon, and I asked the guy, we had a whole conversation about bourbon and
Right.
my eyes, like,
Your eyes?
he just said, your eyes are really blue,
Right.
and
You have contacts?
I do.
Okay.
But I just remembered it.
Right.
So I bought the bourbon and got some gas on Thomasville and met my friends at Mosaic.
Which gas station did you go to on Thomasville?
The one that's, I always forget the name, but the one that's close to the cross street, it's right next to the Goodwill.
Okay.
If you're heading north on Thomasville, if you're heading north on Thomasville, it's on your right.
Okay, just past the Goodwill
Just
place?
past the Goodwill, it's close to the intersection there.
Okay, all right, and then from that point, you went straight to the
Went to Mosaic
Mosaic restaurant?
and met friends there. I used to have kind of a steady Friday meeting, and I hadn't seen my two friends in a while. And so we had made plans to meet up.
What time did you get to Mosaic?
About 1. I was a little late. We were supposed to meet at 1, and I got there a few minutes after.
Okay, all right, I know it's cold in here, okay?
I think that's not why I'm
Okay,
shaking.
I know it's part of it, but, do you know anybody that would have a beef against your ex-husband?
I don't know who would do this.
Okay, well, it appears from what we've seen so far that someone intentionally hurt Daniel. Okay, intentionally. Okay, I don't
You
think.
don't know who it is?
No, and I don't
What if
think.
they come after the boys?
I don't think that's going to be. I have no indication at this time that that's a threat. All right. Where's your closest family at?
My family actually just talked to my brother this morning. My parents are in Coral Springs.
Okay.
And my brother, I have two brothers, but I'm very close to one of them who is in Fort Lauderdale.
Okay. All right. So that's where you're from originally, I take it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
His family's in Canada. Did they know? Did you tell them?
No, they haven't been
Oh
notified
my
yet.
God. His parents are gonna be devastated.
Daniel's been shot. Okay. And we have to find out why and who did this. Can you help with that?
I will try.
Okay. What I want to do right now to try to expedite things, okay, but I need your permission, is I want to take your cell phone and download all the information out of it.
Sure.
Do you have a problem with that?
No.
Okay. You were telling me before, when we were riding up here, that the agreement was that you're all going to have some type of phone call at 11:15 this morning. Is that correct?
Well, not exactly, just that we needed
Okay.
to have the talk at some point before, we have to decide before Monday of what to do about his school, where Ben's gonna go to school, and he said, I'm gonna be done. I thought it was 11:15, but when we listened to the message, it was 10:30.
Okay.
When he said, I'm gonna be he went to like a workout class at the gym. He
At
said,
Premier.
At Premier.
Mhm.
He said, I'm gonna be out of it by such and such a time, you could call me then. And I called, but I think we could see what time I called him. I thought it was more of like, let's see, recent calls. I called him. Well, that's him calling in at 9:02. I called him at 11:42 and got his answering machine.
He called you at 9:02?
He called me at 9:02.
Mm-hmm.
The repair guy was there, and honestly, I leave my ringer off a lot of the time, so I didn't even hear the call come in. He left me a message. I called him at 11:42 and left him a message, just saying, okay, I want to talk about school for Ben, and I assume I'll see you at 4:30 today. When I figured he's going to take the kids swimming,
Right.
and he'll drop them at the house at 4:30.
Okay. So in other words, the whole meeting at 10:30 or 11:15
Just
didn't
didn't
happen.
happen.
Right. Okay. Okay.
Can't leave.
Not yet. You got somebody here?
Seriously? Okay, I'll hold it.
Sorry.
It's okay.
We just have to eliminate everything. Okay. You know what she's saying, right?
I'm assuming I'm a suspect. I can't
No,
really
you're not a
remember.
suspect. I don't consider you a suspect. I asked you to come up here. You came up here voluntarily. I'm not Reggie Miranda. You are not under arrest. You are the closest thing to family that I have to Daniel right now. Okay? Your last phone your last personal contact, in other words, in person with Daniel, was when?
He goes by Danny.
Danny, okay.
No one calls him Daniel.
Yes. I don't know him, so I'm
I'm
sorry.
just telling you
Danny.
so that it just feels really impersonal. My last face-to-face contact with him, wow. We do a lot of like leave off pickup at the school, right? Where one of us will take the kids to school and the other one picks them up. I came back with my parents. We drove back all together, and then that Friday, which would have been last Friday, a week from today, so if today's the 18th, it was Friday the 11th, that's my other brother's birthday, and I would have seen him, but I had been with the kids for like 12 days straight, and I was getting really sad at the idea of drop off of Danny coming to pick him up, and so my folks said, you know what, why don't you so at about 4:45, I just went over a friend's house. I didn't see him that day. And then he had the kids, and I got some sort of laryngitis, and I was alone all weekend, so that was Saturday, Sunday. And then this week, I missed the kids, so I visited them at school on Monday and Tuesday.
They were staying with Danny?
They were with Danny that whole time, but Danny and I had started on days when we really missed the kids. We'd go have like lunch with them or breakfast with them. So I went and had lunch with them or read them a story. I saw them Monday, I saw them Tuesday. Wednesday was my overnight, and so that was Wednesday, and then he had them Thursday, was yesterday.
Yeah.
So that was the last time I had face-to-face contact with him.
Was?
June 30th.
And then yesterday, y'all were conversing on text about this phone call or about this discussion for Ben.
On email, I think,
Okay.
about, we'd both spoken with an administrator at the school, and so yesterday morning I emailed him and said, I'd really love for him to go to this school. I think we should accept it. Here's why. And then I asked him a second question about Ben's birthday coming up, because I didn't have Ben on his birthday, and he wanted this Lego thing, and I wanted to make sure that no one else got it for him. So I asked him if he was going to do a party for Ben, so I knew ahead of time whether people would be bringing presents or whatever, and so I knew whether he would have gotten it from someone else or whether I should buy it for him. And he wrote back and said, when your voice feels better, let's talk, because my throat was really hurting. He said, let's talk, we need to work this out for Monday. And I sent him an email, you'll see it sometime this morning while I was home working on my paper, that said, okay, I'm ready to talk whenever you are. And don't know what time I sent it, but if I called him at 11:40, it was either before I called him, because I thought normally he would have called.
Okay.
Like when he said I'm done with the class at 10:30, and I had said, okay, let's talk, and then sent him a call or an email, like, I thought it was weird I hadn't heard from him, but I just thought, like, oh, maybe he's busy with something or showering. Or...
But he told you at some point that he was going to premiere this morning.
Yeah, no, that
When
phone message says, I'm going to premiere, I'll be out 10:15, 10:30, and so you can call me after that.
When did you receive that phone message?
Maybe after the repair guy left, so maybe at like, this morning, like
Okay.
at 11-ish or something.
All right. So you're at your house with the repairman, he leaves, you go back to working on your papers, and then you leave your house around noon, drive down, Trescott's blocked, you turn around, you go back around on Benton, and then you go
It was
to
a tree.
Right. Pardon?
I thought it was like a tree that fell down or
Right.
something.
Right. So,
I didn't even think, like, that's the house. I saw a few houses blocked off, and I'm sorry, I'm wasting
sorry.
time.
No, you're not wasting my time.
Week on, week off, but with Wednesday overnights. So Wednesday night they were with me.
When you say Wednesday overnight, Wednesday.
It means like if it's a mommy week, then
Right.
they're with you all week. Except Wednesday night they'd go to Danny.
Okay.
If it's a Danny week,
Right.
so they're with him all week. Except Wednesday night they came to me.
All right, and then so Wednesday
And
night
that's the last time. I didn't tell you this, but I thought about it in the bathroom. I didn't have an interaction with him, but that's the last time I saw him was Wednesday. I picked up the kids and I was going to take them to Whole Foods.
Okay.
And I saw Danny working on his computer in the window of the Whole Foods, and I took him to BurgerFi instead.
Oh.
Because he and I were, divorced,
Right.
and interactions with him were hard. And it was
Sure.
my one day with the kids, and I thought, well, if we go inside, it's going to be like all of us together, and I wanted time by myself
That's fine.
with them. So I took them, but that's the last time I saw him. So I saw him sitting there Wednesday afternoon working.
What time does he normally drop them off at school?
It varies. Sometimes he has breakfast with it. I got the call from him, it was 9:04, I think,
Right.
so he must have already just dropped them off and was probably driving from school to the gym, and that's why he was saying, going to this class, I'll touch base with you after.
Okay. All right. And then no contact after that?
We had some texting contact. That's when I was saying that my last contact wasn't very nice. I was saying, well, I wanted to pick them up at 3, and he was saying, well, you are only allowed them after 4:30, and I was like, well, what about last week? I picked them up at 5, and he said I was just being nice, and I said, I guess nice was fun while it lasted.
Okay.
That's the last thing I said to him.
Okay. Have you had anything happen at your house?
No.
Nothing?
Uh-uh.
And the information for Best Buy, for the service tech that was there, that's at your house?
Mm-hmm. I'd be happy. I mean, if someone wants to
Yeah, we'll
come back
get
with
that.
me.
We'll get that. And that was basically from when he came out there to serve, well, I guess to replace the
He
TV.
came out to fix it, and then
Okay.
told me that what was wrong with it wasn't fixable.
Right.
And so I called Charlie to find out, should I buy a new one or should I fix
Right.
this one? And he was like, just buy a new one. And
And once he left, do you remember what time the serviceman left?
probably around 10, a little
10.
before 10.
Okay.
And then I left by 12.
But between that time, between 10 and 12, you were by yourself working on your papers and stuff.
Yeah.
Were you doing on papers or computer?
It was all on computer.
Okay.
And that's what I was thinking. I sent some edits in to someone at the law library
All right.
during that time.
Okay.
I called a few friends, I sent some texts, I mean, all of that'll be
On the phone?
on the phone.
Or did you call from your house phone?
I don't have a house phone.
Okay, you use all your communications is over your cell phone?
Yeah,
Do you have more than one cell phone?
no.
Okay. What time did you wake up this morning?
A little before 8. I know that because the repairman was supposed to be here between 8 and 12, and I didn't set an alarm, so I woke up like, oh God, I need to put some clothes on and get ready.
Okay, at 8 o'clock?
He called, or like my mom called. I could see what time the calls came in, but let's see, starting this morning. Yeah, my mom called at 8:09. and then the repair guy called at 8:08, and then my mom called at 8:09. I guess he called her to, trying to, so then the repair guy called, and I don't remember exactly what time he got there, but like between 8 and 9, probably closer to 9.
Okay, what time did he leave?
Around 10. He could probably tell you, like he'll have a record of what time he
Okay.
called in to figure out whether to repair it or buy a new one.
Okay.
So he'll have a record of his calls too.
Okay, before 10 a.m.? A little before 10 a.m. he
Yeah.
left. Okay. And then you went back to working on papers and so forth?
Yeah, I was making some breakfast. I remember I was making oatmeal, so it was taking a while. It was like that kind that you have to stir for a long time. And I was talking to Charlie, so there's my call to Charlie, and then I called Renee, my friend who's interviewing for a job at FSU today. She was driving in, and I wanted to wish her good luck and see if I could meet her for a hug at some point today.
Okay.
So that was at 10:24. I called my friend Tova back at 11:22. I think I was just, in between working on the paper, being distracted.
So between 10:24 and 11:22, all right, 10:24, you're talking to Renee.
I talked to her for 18 minutes.
Okay, so now we're up to 10:24, 4:24 plus 18, we're at 40 something. Huh?
42?
42?
Yeah. Then I went back to working. And then I tried Danny again. I left a message at 11:42 a.m. It's probably just 27 seconds. I just left him a message.
And this is all at your house?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, all right, well, the reason I'm getting down to this, I'm trying to whittle this down with what they pulled from your phone.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever leave your house before you went to the liquor store and got turned around on Prescott?
No.
Never left?
No.
Okay. All right. And so at 10:42, you're done with the call from Renee,
Yeah.
and you don't make another call again. According to what I have here, you called Tova
At 11:22.
at 11:22. So between 10:42.
I worked for a total of like 20 minutes. It's a good thing I'm not on a timesheet.
Okay. So
What about this, something to do with a lady and her kids? Tell us about that.
Yes. All I knew that she was giving us the money. I called her the lady because I never knew her name.
But that lady turned out to be Wendi Adelson, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And your understanding of this murder was that ultimately what?
That she was going to pay.
That the money was coming through from her, or
Yes.
and that this murder was to help her in some way.
Yes, ma'am.
Help her how?
To get her kids back.
And did you ever know Garcia to have any contact with Wendi Adelson?
No, not to my knowledge.
So all the contact with any Adelson or Dennis person happened through Catherine McDaniel.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, tell us what Garcia told you on the way up.
Taking her right up, we was going to do a robbery, but coming halfway this way, he explained to me that was going to be a murder. To get 2 kids back to the lady.
All right, and did you agree to do the murder, to participate in the murder?
Yes, ma'am. It was the day before.
Day before the killing?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, tell us about that.
I was scoping the house, and I was scoping the house and we're leaving. She was walking the sidewalk with 2 kids. I
And that was on the road where Markel lived?
Yes, ma'am.
All
A couple
right.
of houses down from his house.
Okay. And were you driving at that time?
Yes, ma'am.
What did the lady do when you saw her?
She looked at the car and got on the phone right away. Made a phone call.
Okay. And how did you know that the lady, or why did you think that the lady was Wendi Adelson?
Just asked Garcia, why is she looking at the car like that? Yeah, that's her. That's the lady.
Okay, so you believe that to be Wendi Adelson?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. All right, right, let's go to the day of Dan Markel's murder. What were you doing that day?
I was at home that morning. I was working on a couple of pieces of writing. I was waiting. I remember the Geek Squad was coming to fix my television. And I think
Was
they
that
said
the same television that your brother had purchased for you as a divorce gift because it was cheaper than hiring a hitman?
it was the television that my brother had bought for me.
All right, and did your mother, Donna Adelson, arrange from Miami for the Geek Squad to come to your home that morning to fix
No,
the
I
TV?
did.
Would it refresh your recollection to review some text messages regarding that issue?
Yeah, I don't really understand. It's my best recollection that I set up the appointment for them to come.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes this happens now where there's a different number on the account, so they call the wrong account. So they could have called my mom and she would have said, no, call my daughter. They need to confirm with you.
Okay, but your mom does indicate that she is sending the guy to your
No,
house.
she indicates that she was called by Best Buy. So that means she was called by accident since they were coming to my house.
Okay. And did you have an appointment scheduled in your calendar, fixed TV?
I did. I thought they were supposed to come sometime between 8 and noon. And then they came pretty early, I think, 9 or something like that.
All right. And did you delete, shown on the far right column there if you need to refresh your recollection, but did you delete that appointment to have the TV fixed?
I'm usually kind of OCD about this, so after I have a meeting, I'll delete it if it's done. I use my calendar kind of like a to-do list, so I'll have the meeting and then I'll delete it.
Okay.
So I must have deleted it once they arrived or sometime later.
Okay. And right before the message that indicates, that's from your mother that we just talked about, Best Buy called,
Okay.
there's a message that says, "This is so sweet." Who is that
Objection, Your Honor.
message to?
Objection.
Hold on, what's your objection?
Hearsay, Your Honor. Item is in evidence.
That's sustained.
All right. Can you say who the message before the Best Buy message? Who did you send that message to?
It looks like I sent that message to my brother.
Your brother Charlie?
Yes.
All right. And that message was deleted as well?
I always delete my messages. But yes, it looks like I deleted it at some point.
All right. And that message, what were you referring to in that message, if you know?
I have no idea.
All right. But it was sweet, whatever it was.
I mean, 8 years ago, I have no idea what was sweet.
So did Best Buy show up and repair the TV that morning?
They showed up and they tried to repair the TV, but I needed to make a call of whether it was worth repairing or whether I should just get a new one, because the repair costs I remember being expensive.
All right, so the repairman did show up that morning, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And you said you did not recall your mom making that appointment, but was it usual or typical for your mom to get involved in that type of minutia of your daily life?
No.
It would be unusual if she did that.
I mean, it would not be unusual for her to try to help me with various things, so it doesn't sound out of the realm of possibility, but I remember distinctly setting it up for that morning of sometime, like when you wait for a repairman to come, they come in a window, they say between 9 and 1. I remember there being a window they had told me.
And do you remember the specific window in this case?
I keep thinking it was 8 to 12, but I don't know if that's correct.
Okay, and we're talking about 8 a.m., between 8 a.m. and noon. And you agree that your ex-husband, sorry, I keep doing that, was murdered between 8 a.m. and noon?
I don't know the exact time of when it happened.
Really?
Between 8 a.m. and noon?
Yes.
I mean, yes, but I thought it was closer to 10 or 11.
Okay. But the question was it between 8 a.m. and noon?
Yes, it was between 8 a.m. and noon.
All right. And did you leave your residence at all that day after you got the TV or the TV man came?
After the TV repairman came, I did a little bit more work from home. I talked to a couple of friends, and then I made I made plans to have lunch with two friends that I frequently saw on Fridays. And we made kind of a last minute plan to have lunch. And then I had a few errands to run before I met them. So I did that. I picked up gas. I picked up something I needed for a party that night. And then I went to meet my friends for lunch.
All right. And do you know what time you left the residence that day?
I don't. I guess it's somewhere around noon.
And do you recall where you went to purchase the alcohol?
I think I went on Thomasville Road at ABC Liquor.
Okay. Is there a reason you went to that particular store?
No, I don't know many liquor stores. That was the first one that popped up.
All right. And you made that purchase according to the receipt that was in your vehicle at 12:49. Does that sound about right to you?
That sounds right.
Okay. And did you make any stops between leaving your residence and going to the liquor store?
Maybe I purchased gas?
I don't know if you did or not, but I'm referring to your visit to the crime scene.
I did not visit the crime scene.
Okay. You did not pull up to the crime scene tape on Truscott Drive?
No. I was driving on Centerville Road, and sometimes I would take the shortcut through Truscott.
Yes, ma'am.
But when I was driving on Centerville Road, I saw some sort of tape or obstruction, and so I didn't turn.
Okay. And then went and ran your errands? On the way to run your errands, did you go by the crime scene?
No.
On the way to run your errands, did you encounter a roadblock on Truscott?
I did.
All right, so you did turn off of Centerville onto Truscott.
I did.
All right, and when you encountered a roadblock, what did you assume the problem was there?
I figured it was just an electrical storm or something. There was some tape, and it looked like the road was blocked off, and so I just turned around and went back and went up Benton.
And had there been an electrical storm that morning?
I didn't remember an electrical storm, but in the summertime there's always trees falling and rainstorms, so pretty normal.
Right, and you weren't concerned based on that experience that there could be something going on at previously your marital home?
Absolutely not.
And your ex-husband, Dan Markel, had your children at that time, right?
No, he did not.
Okay, so you had your children at that time?
No, my children were at preschool at that time.
Right, but who took them to preschool that day?
Danny would have taken them to preschool.
Okay. So it was his day. He was killed on his parenting day.
It was the day he would have brought them to preschool, and I would have picked them up.
All right. Did they spend the night with him the night before?
They did.
Okay. And you hadn't seen your children yet that day when you encountered the roadblock?
On Friday, no.
Okay. And were you on the phone when you encountered the roadblock? If you
I was.
remember? Do you remember who you were speaking to?
I do.
Who was that? You don't have to say the name, but just what type of person was that?
He was a friend. I hadn't caught up with him a long time. He had moved to England, so I was probably a little distracted talking and catching up with an old friend.
Okay. And when you encountered, at the time that you encountered the roadblock or shortly thereafter, did you call the daycare?
No.
Did you call Dan Markel?
No.
Did you do anything to reach out to any of the players that we've talked about in this case?
No.
Did you communicate to anyone that there was a roadblock?
I didn't. I would have had no reason to do that.
Was Dan Markel scheduled to leave town the day after he was killed?
I believe so.
Where was he going?
He was going to New York.
And that's where he had a girlfriend?
That's where his girlfriend lived.
Do you know how the killers knew that Dan Markel was planning to leave town the next day?
I have no idea.
You didn't relay that information to anyone?
Absolutely not.
Did you have WhatsApp on your phone at the time?
I really don't know. I have it now. I don't know if I had it 8 years ago.
Did you communicate with anyone on WhatsApp or similar technology to relay any information about the murder of your husband?
Absolutely not. So where did she go after she left her home that day?
She was traveling to purchase alcohol, and her travels took her down to Thomasville Road in the area of Benton Road. Coming down Centerville Road, Benton is a cut through from Centerville over to the Thomasville Road area, and so we see that she would have traveled here and then encountered where the crime scene was blocked off.
Okay. So the 2116 Trescott Drive address, that was the address of the crime scene the day of the murder?
That's correct.
Okay. And what do we see is the little yellow diamond with the exclamation point?
The Tallahassee Police Department had, again, the roadway blocked to prevent interference with the crime scene, and that is the approximate location of where the roadway was blocked and traffic could not go past.
Where did she go after she encountered that roadblock?
She would have traveled back out to Thomasville Road, to Centerville, back down to Benton, and across to Thomasville.
Where did she go once she reached Thomasville Road?
She went to the ABC Fine Wine and Spirits there, again just south of Benton on Thomasville Road, and we see that a receipt for a purchase.
Objection, Your Honor.
Overruled.
You can answer.
I believe I did, but she went to the ABC Liquors as we have a receipt for that purchase.
Okay. And the time on that receipt, it looks like you've highlighted as 12:49 p.m.
That's correct.
What was that looks like it was Bullet Rye Bourbon purchased at ABC?
It was, yes.
All right. So after she left ABC, where did she go next?
She was having lunch with friends at a restaurant, Mosaic. So she would have traveled north on Thomasville Road to the area of I-10 where Mosaic Restaurant was.
Okay. Mosaic no longer around. Used to be in Market Square area though?
That's correct.
All right. So based on the location information from her calls and text messages that you were able to look at in her call detail records, were you able to determine like an approximate time that she encountered that roadblock?
Yes. So again, in the call detail records, we have a lot of different information. Call detail records is a generic term for a number of different records we're able to get from a carrier. But primarily, call detail records are a set of records that contain the dates and times of communication events. And those can be text messages or voice calls and sometimes data sessions. But with those events in that record, we again see a date and a time. If it were a voice call, we may get the duration or how long that phone call was. We see the phone numbers, who's calling who, the direction, whether it's incoming or outgoing. And then we also generally have some location information in the form of a cell site. And that will be the cell site that the handset was communicating with for that particular event. So by looking into Ms. Adelson's records, we see that we do have events with cell site locations around this time. So we have a fairly lengthy phone call that begins on a cell site, as we can see in the upper right, 12:31 p.m. And the blue dot just represents the location of the cell site. We'll talk more about cell sites and how they are broken down. But that dot just represents the location of where that cell site is. So that phone call began on a cell site that was near her home. And we can see there was, I believe, a text message that came in around 12:35 p.m. and that communicated with a cell site closer to Capitol Circle. And then we see that call ends on a cell site that's very close to the ABC Liquors. So by knowing those times, the 12:31 that the call began, the 12:47 where the call ended, and also the receipt time of 12:49 p.m., then we have an approximate time that she would have passed by the crime scene.
And what time was that?
That would have been around 12:40 to possibly 12:45.
Okay.
How far away from the residence of Dan Markel was the crime scene tape? Was there crime scene tape up over the street?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And how far away from the residence was that tape located?
say approximately 3 or 4 houses.
And is that where you were positioned?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, and during the time that you were there holding the perimeter, is that when law enforcement was continuing to work at the scene?
Yes.
All right, so there were several law enforcement vehicles present.
Yes.
Do you know how many?
Guesstimating maybe about 4 or 5 marked patrol cars. One of the crime scene vans, I'm pretty sure was there. That's also marked police. Another, I'm guessing 3 or so unmarked units for the investigators.
And would those vehicles have been in the driveway of the Markel residence, or something else?
Well, all around right there in front of his residence.
Okay, including in the driveway?
There may have been, I can't remember for sure.
All right, and these were marked vehicles?
Yes.
Okay. And during the time that you were holding the crime scene perimeter, what time of day was this?
It was around noon.
All right, did cars pull up and have to turn around because they couldn't pass through the crime scene?
Yes.
And was it your job to make sure that no cars passed through the crime scene?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, and as part of your job, would you have contact with the people that would come up and just let them know that you basically don't tell them anything about what's going on, but tell them they got to turn around and go the other way?
I don't remember having to speak with anybody specifically.
Okay, but you were just making sure they didn't come through?
Yeah, I was parked there next to the crime scene tape with my lights on and my vehicle blocking the road.
So when cars approached the roadblock, they just on their own turned around and went back the way they had come?
Yes.
All right, and did one of those cars in particular stand out to you?
Yes, ma'am.
And what vehicle was that?
It was a later 2000s model Honda Odyssey van.
Why did that vehicle stand out to you?
I had obtained information that the ex-wife drove a vehicle like that.
All right, were you able to see the occupant of the vehicle clearly?
No.
Were you able to tell how many occupants there were in the vehicle?
No.
All right, were you able to tell whether it was a man or a woman?
I thought it was possibly a woman because I thought I remembered seeing longer hair, but I couldn't say conclusively.
All right, you didn't have any contact with the driver?
No, ma'am.
What did the driver of this Honda Odyssey do when the driver approached the roadblock?
Just immediately did a 3-point turn and left.
All right, and as you approached the roadblock, if you're one of these drivers, the way they would come up to the roadblock, would you be able to see that the law enforcement activity was occurring at the Markel residence?
Yes.
And the person driving I'm going to show you State's Exhibit 18. Recognize this?
It looks like the vehicle.
This is similar or consistent with the vehicle you saw
Consistent with it.
Does this time, I'm going to ask to publish State's 18.
18 it is? All right, you may.
The driver of this vehicle, or the vehicle consistent with this, did they ask you any questions about what was going on at the Markel residence?
No.
And was there anything unusual about the way this particular vehicle turned around?
Just seemed a little more quicker than the other ones. Most of the vehicles, when they pull up, you'd see them kind of pausing for a second, and I don't know if they were like formulating a new plan because suddenly they can't go the way they want to go. There's usually just seemed to be a hesitation. This one caught my attention a little bit more also because when it pulled up, I mean, it just automatically did a 3-point turn and headed on.
Did Dan Markel have he and Wendi Adelson's children the morning of July 18th?
Yes, he did.
All right, and where did he take them that morning?
They would have been taken to their school, Creative Preschool on West Tharp Street.
Okay. Now, when she drove by Trescott Drive, she encountered the roadblock around, you said, 12:40. Did she attempt to call Dan Markel or her children?
She did not.
Okay. And you're looking at this call detail summary to be able to see that?
Yes. So these would be all of the phone calls in the afternoon, or from the time period that she would have passed, or before that, past the crime scene, through that afternoon. And there were no other calls to Mr. Markel.
Okay. Did she call her children's daycare, creative preschool, to see if they had made it to school?
She did not.
Did she attempt to call 911 looking at her call detail records?
From the call detail records, no.
Law enforcement of any kind?
No.
Okay. Can you show us that?
I can. So again, the starting point being Miss Adelson's residence and her ultimate destination being Mosaic, we can kind of look at maybe some alternate routes that she may have been able to take to get there. And certainly what appears to be a shorter route would to be go, directly across to Mosaic. We did talk about the other liquor stores, Publix, Market Square, and ABC, which again all appear to be closer to her destination than that ABC on Thomasville Road.
So the dotted line there represents a route that she could have taken to get to those liquor stores that were closer to Mosaic?
That's correct.
All right. And what route did she actually take to get to ABC and then Mosaic?
So again, this is the Centerville, Trescott, back to Centerville, Thomasville, and back north.
And the purple line there is based on the mapping from her call detail records?
The purple line is based on the information about her travels from her testimony and other evidence that tells us where she went. The timing came from the call detail records.
Okay. And how much longer is the route that she actually took, which took her by the Trescott Drive residence of Dan Markel, compared to the route she could have taken?
Well, timing, of course, depends on a lot of things, traffic and other, but in general, we can see that the shortest route is just over 3.5 miles. The longest route is just under 9.5. So it's obviously a longer trip.
You went to the liquor store. Did you already know what you're going to get, or you had to?
Yeah, I had the name of, I don't know bourbon, but I was supposed to go to this party tonight. It's like a stock the bar party, and so I asked my friend what do they like, and she wrote down the name of the type of bourbon. So I went in the store to get Bulleit bourbon, and so I asked the guy in the store, like, where's your bourbon? And so he showed it to me, and I found it. And
Okay, so you just went, he pointed out where the bourbon was?
Yeah.
And you go there and you just grab the brand that's familiar by the name?
Yeah, that's what they said they wanted. So.
Okay, so you didn't discuss with the clerk whether this good, whether it's bad?
The only thing I said I discussed is I walked over and he was like, can I see your ID? And I was like, why are you laughing? I could be 18. And I was like, and so I was like, I love to be asked how old I am. I'm like, I'm old as dirt. Here you go. And so I handed it to him and he's like, you're not old.
Okay.
So anyway, we had like a little banter and he was like, your eyes are so blue. And I was like, thank you. And then I left. That's it.
When you left the residence and encountered the roadblock, where were you headed?
When I left my residence,
Mm-hmm.
I was headed to ABC Liquors to get an item that was requested for a Stock the Bar party. I was supposed to go to that Friday night.
And what was that item?
I'm sorry?
What was the item?
It was bourbon.
What type of bourbon?
Bullet bourbon. The
And did
invitation
you-
had asked specifically to bring a bottle of Bullet bourbon, so I went to the store and asked them where I could find that.
And the bottle of Bullet bourbon was in your vehicle when law enforcement came to interview you about this case?
Right, when I told law enforcement they could search my vehicle and signed away all my rights, yeah.
sitting in this room by myself right now is like a form of torture.